Hi, I'm Sarah. I'm the children's pastor here at Restore. And one thing you might not know about me is that I love crime stories. I love watching a good 2020 at night. So this exchange that we have in this story today really is up my alley because it almost seems like a true crime story. We have the stage of Jesus here, and he's already had the Last Supper. He's prayed in the garden. He's had his betrayal from Judas, and he's been arrested. And it's also late in the night, so we can assume that he's also pretty exhausted. He's faced two portions of his trial, with the Jewish trial and the Roman trial. And they had sought witnesses to try to show him that he was guilty, but they were really struggling to get a case against him. In fact, the witnesses couldn't even get their story straight. They had two different, multiple stories, and he really seems to look as the innocent person. In fact, I'd even go to say that in this story, he's pretty much the hero, because through it all, he seems to remain calm. He has to be tired, but you don't see him yelling at people. You don't see him being angry or cursing at people. So he comes up to Pilate, and multiple times, Pilate has declared him innocent, and that his crime, whatever it was they were trying to charge him with, that they were trying to put together, he said, I can't charge him of it. I can't find it. Do you guys really want this? And this is where the part in the story that really makes me angry, because I'm cheering for Jesus as he remains calm. He's the teacher. He's the hero in this. And he's being treated so unfair. So unfair that he's even arrested in this and been betrayed, and still is just almost being silent in the whole thing and showing that he was innocent. And in this part, we have Barabbas who enters. Now, Barabbas is almost the exact opposite of Jesus. We don't know completely what his crimes were, but we do know he had multiple crimes. We're just going to say he was very rebellious, and that he was also being charged with murder. Most likely being charged with murder, we're going to assume that he was rather dangerous and probably would have been on the equivalent of death row. And this is where this exchange between Jesus and Barabbas and this trial that they're both facing comes into this place that goes so horribly wrong. But at the same time, it's starting to go so right. The charges against Jesus, Pilate tried again to just have them released. But at this time, it's late in the night, and there's a crowd that's gathered, and it's getting quite a bit of news coverage, if you will, that Jesus has been arrested and that Barabbas is also here. And this just makes me angry, because a crowd shouldn't determine what happens. But that's pretty much what happened. Pilate gave the crowd the option. They wouldn't dismiss the charges against Jesus, even though he said several times, I can't find him guilty. And the crowd's getting stirred up, and there's all kinds of commotion going on. And they decide to bring Jesus and Barabbas and let the crowd decide who gets released. And I feel the pull to be like, release Jesus. He's the innocent one. Barabbas did this crime, and that should equal an equal punishment. In this case, he murdered somebody. Shouldn't he at least face the consequence of that murder? And at that point, the crowd demands that Jesus does not get released, but that Barabbas does. Now, if you watch crime stories, you know that when there's an injustice done, it just is not okay. And you don't sleep afterwards, and your stomach goes in knots, because it's not fair. The system should have worked. And at this point, it did not work for Jesus how we think it should have. Jesus, the one who was not guilty of the crime, but it was the biggest taste of freedom that Barabbas would ever experience, because he was guilty of the crime. He knew he was guilty of murder, of other crimes that we don't even know what they are, and that Jesus literally took his place of death. And it's that glimpse of freedom that you're just, why would he do that? Why would he not cause some stir or pull some strings to make himself go free? And then you have that moment where you realize it wasn't just Barabbas. He's giving us a glimpse of the release that we get because of the cross at Easter. That Jesus took our place on the cross, that we were the guilty ones and that we are the guilty ones until he took our place as the only innocent one.